The Su-57 program, often presented by Russian officials as the centerpiece of their next-generation air combat capability, has become a case study in the widening gap between military ambition and technological execution. More than 2 decades after the program's inception, the aircraft has failed to achieve operational maturity or meet the standards expected of a true fifth-generation platform. Its development has been defined by chronic delays, repeated technical failures, and a lack of industrial capacity to support serial production at scale. The promise of a stealthy, supermaneuverable, multi-role fighter remains largely unfulfilled. One of the most glaring shortcomings of the Su-57 is its inability to achieve credible stealth capability. From its inception, stealth was marketed as a core feature of the aircraft, positioning it as a peer competitor to other advanced fighters. However, the airframe's design reflects compromises that fundamentally limit its radar-evading potential. The external geometry includes features that increase its radar cross-section, such as widely spaced engine nacelles, protruding vertical stabilizers, and complex intake shapes. These choices, driven in part by Russia's limited manufacturing precision and materials science expertise, undermine the aircraft's ability to avoid detection by modern radar systems. The use of radar-absorbent materials (RAM) and stealth coatings, essential to reducing radar signature, has also been inconsistent and technologically dated. Russian industry lacks the infrastructure to mass-produce next-generation composites at scale, and the coatings used on the Su-57 are reportedly fragile and require constant maintenance, far more than what would be acceptable for sustained deployments or real-world operations. These limitations render the aircraft vulnerable in modern integrated air defense environments, reducing its effectiveness in any high-intensity conflict scenario involving sophisticated radar networks. The Su-57's powerplant issues further weaken its operational viability. The aircraft continues to fly with interim AL-41F1 engines, derived from older designs, lacking the thrust and efficiency needed for supercruise, sustained supersonic flight without afterburners, a key benchmark for modern air superiority fighters. Supercruise enables faster engagement times, longer range, and lower infrared signatures. The Su-57's inability to perform in this regime restricts its tactical flexibility and survivability. The promised ISDELIA-30 engine, which is intended to deliver competitive thrust and efficiency, remains years behind schedule. Even now, it exists only in limited testbed installations and has not entered full-rate production. This bottleneck continues to be a strategic liability. Another major issue lies in the aircraft's onboard systems and software. A hallmark of fifth-generation fighters is their ability to act as flying sensors, platforms that gather, process, and share vast amounts of data in real time. The Su-57 was supposed to feature advanced sensor fusion, artificial intelligence support, and a digital cockpit allowing a single pilot to manage complex missions. But in reality, integration of these technologies has fallen well short. Russia's struggles with domestic microprocessor development, exacerbated by international sanctions and technological isolation, have resulted in a system that lacks the responsiveness and stability expected of modern combat avionics. The aircraft's radar and sensor suite is similarly underwhelming. Though marketed as featuring an advanced AESA, active electronically scanned array, radar system with multiple antenna arrays covering different angles, real-world performance has lagged. Without reliable high performance, computing to process sensor inputs and integrate them into a coherent tactical display, the radar system cannot provide the kind of tracking and targeting performance needed in a modern air dominance role. These limitations are compounded by deficiencies in electronic warfare capabilities, which leave the Su-57 vulnerable to jamming, spoofing, and other countermeasures. In terms of survivability and maintainability, the Su-57 also presents serious challenges. Modern fighters must balance performance with the logistical and mechanical requirements of sustained deployment. The Su-57's maintenance cycles are reportedly long and inefficient. Parts availability is unreliable, and the aircraft's complexity requires more ground crew time and training than what Russian tactical air units are typically equipped to handle. This is especially damaging in a military structure already stretched thin by prolonged conflict, resource shortages, and declining institutional readiness. From an operational standpoint, the Su-57 has been conspicuously absent from the front lines. While a few airframes have been deployed in low-risk, low-frequency missions, they have not been used in any meaningful way to change the course of combat operations. This is not due to a strategic choice but rather a reflection of the aircraft's fragility, lack of readiness, and uncertain combat value. These aircraft are not only too few in number to make a difference, but also ill-equipped to operate in heavily contested environments. The decision to keep them largely out of combat signals a lack of confidence in their survivability and mission success rate. The broader context of the Su-57's failure must also be considered within the systemic decline of Russia's military-industrial base. Years of underinvestment, corruption, brain drain, and sanctions have eroded the country's ability to produce cutting-edge systems. While defense exports have long been a source of political and economic influence, the Su-57 has failed to attract any real international customers. Announcements of interest or cooperation deals have often fallen apart quietly, with prospective buyers backing out or demanding technology transfers that Russia is unwilling or unable to provide. The absence of confirmed export orders reflects a global consensus that the Su-57 does not offer value or reliability. The Su-57 remains an aircraft trapped between political aspiration and industrial limitation. It is not a fifth-generation platform in any meaningful sense of the term, lacking in stealth, propulsion, sensor integration, and combat readiness. Its prolonged development and underwhelming performance serve as a clear indicator of the challenges facing Russia's defense sector. Rather than representing a leap forward, the Su-57 illustrates the consequences of overpromising and under-delivering on complex military technology projects. Its future role, if any, is likely to be symbolic rather than strategic, offering little more than an illusion of parity in an era where actual capabilities are increasingly decisive.